I'd have to admit that this chapter was not what I expected whatsoever. I figured that we would have more of a focus on Wendy because we ended with Wendy and all of Diablos. I was able to get I was able to get Scoldion on screen for all of 5 seconds before it was taken away again, but we pretty much just went right back to what was going on in Dramil and everything with, well, seemingly again showing Urza and Wed, but we didn't really get even really Wed in the chapter. We didn't even get I was really hoping that we would get like a really cool shot of just his character, just to see, you know, more stock of just cool images of him. But we ended up getting way more focus on the Oracion Seis versus the Oracion Sex, and we actually had a lot of really cool just general lore that's been brought back up, which I was very happy about. But Alderon ends up coming back, which is very interesting to me because it puts up the question to me of how would they have beaten him in the end without a Dragon Slayer, when I guess if maybe this is the whole thing, because I was thinking maybe Zero was like some form of black magic Dragon Slayer and that's what his whole thing was going to be, but I guess not, because even if you defeat the Alderon's God Seed, I would assume that if you don't do it permanently with dragon slaying magic or just being a dragon, it's not going to do it permanently. He's going to come back up. I'm very curious as to how this works. Does this mean that all the dragon gods are permanently going to be alive as long as this is happening, even if they're freed, or what's going to be going on with this? So this is definitely like something that I'm very happy about, because I am amongst a few Alderon fans. There's always those characters that you know you're amongst the niche fandom of, like Wall and stuff like that. So I'm happy to see. I remember if only I was doing reviews for when Bacchus was brand new and I could be hyping him up. But we just have a lot of the general matchups that we saw between the Oracion Sex and the Oracion Seis split back up just all around as Alderon's moving. Really cool just general art spreads of Alderon getting up and just being this massive beast. It just looks really cool as he's just standing up, well, not standing up, I guess as a dragon he's standing up, leaning up and whatnot, and just giving out a roar, the massive quake in the sky as he does it. This looks amazing. But we ended up getting more kind of focus because the chapter title was on, I could tell it was on Racer, and then we had a little bit of them, and then we switched back around and we were just kind of moving as the chapter was progressing, and we had a really cool, like, just again more interactions with Igni and Ferris, which I was very happy about. And we have Racer just not really sure what's going on with Alderon. Ferris's group obviously wasn't there, so they're gonna have information on what was going on with their mission and what they were going into, so they knew about Alderon already. So here it is Bird's just talking about it. And again, Bird is making me again more interested in his character, because maybe he'll be the one that is like the sleeper guy, and he actually is way more impressive. But I still, again, it's lining up for me to doubt it, because he's against the weakest member of the Seis as far as I'm concerned, and on top of that, this guy is the first one out fight, so he just seems to me as he just doesn't seem like he's going to be that crazy. I've already said I don't expect all of the Sex to lose. I would really like my stocks are in Zero and in Gate, because I still believe that Ferris can just make more, and she could just have more people, and that this is just the first draft and she's gonna pull out more, but we'll see. That's still a big unknown exactly, because like the whole thing with the Ethereus is they are, you made them, so it's not like you have to find X wizard, because they have to, because when you think about it, it's like, oh, you find this character, they've had however many years between when they were born up until now that they've been doing their journey before you come across them and you get them into your squad. Whereas with the Ethereus, it's you just make them. So even if members of the Sex are destroyed and they die in this fight, Ferris can just either remake them, or I would imagine make brand new ones, and maybe even upgraded versions and whatnot. But I like his general design. Bird's design is the least interesting of it. I mean, he looks more of like a goon rather than what I would consider kind of like a bossish character. And even his first attacks, he's good, cool names. I mean, just Falcon Wing, nothing that kind of crazy. What was the other one? It was like Condor Fin Fan. Odd name again, but still, he's like just throwing feathers and then doing like some wind looking attacks. Nothing again that out of the ordinary. And then with Racer's got magic that slows his opponent, and he's got a magic that speeds himself up. Like the dude hasn't seemingly upgraded. It was nice when everyone came back in the Starry Sky arc and we got to see the members with their newer magic, and as far as we know, the only member out of them that's gotten really like a additional magic is Angel, because Angel had the coins and then she had to switch from that because that was dangerous for her. It was taking like parts of her lifespan and stuff. So she is the only one really with anything directly new as far as I'm concerned. I know Cobra, like I had a whole thing about I think Cobra is gonna come in with something pretty shiny and new, but his fight will make me a little salty unless we have just like a really badass fight, because I think Blade is really cool looking and I'm looking forward to that fight. But with Racer, I don't really know what his fight is really going to be doing that gives, I don't know, gives much of a surprise in any order. And granted, I'm all for getting focused chapter fights on the Oracion Seis. There are long running characters in the series. All of them getting more general exposition and getting stuff from their characters is great. I mean, a chapter focused on Racer right now, it's like Sawyer's getting so much. He's getting so much right now that's going into his whole existence. And I think that all of them are just going to be running it. They're all going to be pretty happy. It's always like weird switching between their names, obviously, but I prefer their code names just for the sake of it, because sometimes I always wonder, like, do I get the names mixed up? Just because of what I prefer. It's one of the reasons I try really hard when it's like when you get stuck with a fan translation name and then you have the original. There's like, you think it was for anybody who's like gone back and was like has been reading from like way back when there were more in the fan translations eras, like back with like Manga Panda and stuff. The Visitor has or Steven said Visitor has had so many translations to his name. It's actually kind of crazy, one being Visitor. But I don't know, Racer, I'm curious to know, it's like, what is he going to do new? I don't really know. I don't really see what he's gonna pull out here to win. This dude just, to me, has a whole Wendy victim like completely written all over him, like somebody that has big talk and he goes to fight Wendy and Wendy just dominates him. I've said this a few times. This is the vibe he gives so much. But if that ends up happening, I'll be really happy, just from the sake of like, I like the setup. It's like he fights still a pretty competent character. It's not like Racer's some nobody. He's still like a pretty high capable character. And he does other stuff like with Eagle Attach. He just goes for like this cool like slam that goes just through chunks of like the roots and then slamming into the stone ground. It was just a really cool looking bit. But again, with him, I wonder what about his is that crazy, because we have a comment here from Ferris, and she's saying, like, you know, dragons people shouldn't underestimate the power of black magic, and then the 6 black demons born from her prayers are all ultimate wizards who have touched the abyss of black magic, which is also really interesting that she says the abyss of black magic instead of the abyss of magic, because right after that we have Meredy say that that Gate he feels a lot like Hades. Like, she says the same type of magic as Master Hades, and I wonder exactly what she means by that. If it means like the aura, kind of like when Hades ends up taking off the eye patch, or does it just mean like the general magic, or is it, you know, I imagine this the aura of being like, again, touched in that whole era of almost. It seems to just be a magical boost. It seems to be kind of like when you go to Elentier and you get, you know, you pass that limit and you just get the critical magic intake. It gives you just a straight automatic boost. But with this is something that's been in the story for a long time, and it's really interesting to see it get expanded upon at this point, because this is something that I just didn't expect. And this is what I've been really loving about 100 Years Quest, that I feel like a lot of people are underrate a lot, is there's been a lot of just general world lore expansion on stuff that's been in the story and stuff that's been laid out and just given more detail and given more meat and given us a larger scale expansion of the world, and I'm a big fan of that. I really like what we're moving along with getting, again, just back lore, because now we're getting something that just sat in Sirius Island for what, a decade, and it's come to the forefront now. So Ferris is going to be giving us, again, a lot of really cool stuff here. And Ferris is another thing that I thought was really interesting, because she's running a lot of things that I actually had theories for Ivan. It's like, how could Ivan be relevant? And it's like, he, you know, doing all these fast passes of ways to get these increases, like a seemingly, I would imagine, just, you know, as she says, touched by the abyss of magic. With Hades, he said he gazed into it. I wonder exactly what it is, if we could figure out, like, if it's its location, is it like a state of mind. Like, it'd be cool if it's more of like a spiritual thing, like you essentially kind of have to get almost like to a level of almost not like astral projection, but kind of connection with magic, but you do it towards like the darkest part, and it's almost like a mental realm, or I'm just thinking of something cool of like, oh yeah, you can only access this dark magic place if you do it. Something just neat. It's probably just some like cool location with, like, I don't know, dark magic connected to the true underworld, and maybe we'll get like the actual demon lord kind of thing. Maybe at some point she'll summon the actual lords from the natural demon realm of fairy tale. I think that'd be really cool, depending on where things would sit, because I'd be sad if they were crazily over my Mad Mard gear if that ever happened, just because can't be reclaiming my guy's title. Maybe if they have something a little bit higher up, just leave him as it is. Maybe if she brings him back somehow and puts him at that level, it'll be perfect. Or you have something, when Mardgear died, he went to the actual underworld and then climbed the ladder because he's that guy. But again, it's really interesting to me, because a lot of them, when you saw their parts in the chapter, Damon just doing what you'd expect. Blade is just going for a slash on Cobra. I would have loved to see more of like a shot of theirs, just because I really want to see his sword. Zero is throwing his magic over at Midnight. Again, I don't really know what Midnight's going to do to win his fight. I feel like that's got to be just a 0W. We'll see. And then Gaia's just apparently hand pressing over on Hot Eye for him. Gaetho has this cool aura around him. I love when we have just different kinds of like energy effects within series that you don't see that often. And it's kind of got like this neat digital effect where it's like fading in and out of white and black. I just love the look of it. And again, it makes me curious as to what exactly his black magic is, because with Bird, I don't know exactly where we're gonna get to a point with his where it feels like a black magic. His just feels like a magic. He's just doing like what, air manipulation, wind manipulation, and then feathers, and he's got like enhanced physical stats. Nothing about what he's doing really kind of sits, I don't know, extensive to make me think, oh, this is a really dangerous magic. Granted, he just started and he hasn't really done anything yet, and none of them have popped an Aetherius form. I would imagine they're gonna have an Aetherius form. It would just be strange to me to call them Aetherius and not give them an Aetherius form. Well, I guess Gaia. Maybe Gaia's different because I don't know, something about him and his giant weird dinosaur feet. But I don't know. His is the most strange one, because when I look at the other fights, I'm just scrolling over this to kind of look at them as I go. Angel versus Damon. Angel's magic, we haven't really seen too much of it, but I imagine it's gonna work something similar to Celestial Spirit magic or the coins, where she's summoning things. So I would imagine whatever she summons, they're gonna have different types of effects. Like they're gonna, oh, this one does this thing if it touches you. Oh, this one heals me. Oh, this one is able to let me, I don't know, move from space to space like a teleport. I don't know, something that it sets up like really neat kind of strategical things, rather than like Racer, where Racer is able to slow us down his opponent and speed himself up. It'd be really easy for him to get something new, something really cool, or just to give him this really cool kind of like speed feat, give him one of those like where he runs really far away or runs into somebody. Or actually, it'd be way cooler. I would think it would be way cooler if you set up a feat that looks like that, or a scene where it looks like he's running really fast, but it's the opposite. It's like he's just running at his regular speed or just normal speed, but he's just put all of his magic into slowing down Bird as much as possible. And it's one of those kind of moments where it feels like an eternity for him. He's just standing there. It's kind of like, I can't remember which Flash. I don't think it was Barry. I think there was a version of Wally West that did that to a dude. And then like Myuri, when he does it to, oh god, I can't pronounce any of Sly's little. At some point, I'm gonna have to memorize. Like, just gonna take a Spada name pronunciation class. I should remember these things. But yeah, Zero, I don't know. Zero, I think, has just got it. I think his fight's fine. Blade and Cobra, I would love for that to be a draw. I would love for that to be a draw and they have a rematch. I don't know, because I don't think Midnight can beat Zero. I'm still really hoping Zero is either getting a rematch with Natsu or a fight with Gray. I would love a fight with Gray where Gray gets this really sick fight against Zero. But each of them, otherwise, they have, like, I would imagine a really cool level of aura times their general dangerous black magic. Guy apparently is just doing hands, but otherwise, I don't know. I'm more hyped at the fights as they go. I don't imagine we're going to be getting them all super soon. I mean, we got like a pretty solid spread chapter, and then Racer at the end, setting up for, I would assume, more. Maybe give him a full chapter next week, or not next week, sorry, the week after. Sorry, I meant to say the next chapter. But I don't know. I think right now we're still at a really solid place for each of their fights where you can kind of give some of them some credit, but at the same time, some of them I think are obvious. Like, again, Zero and Gate, I think, are very, very heavily leaning, especially Zero, because the Zero's the one that if he loses here, it'd be very weird. I don't know, unless we're gonna get some like plans where it's gonna be, hey, we're gonna give Midnight, like, I don't know, a 3-chapter, a 2-chapter backstory. We're gonna really expand his character, and we're gonna take him from like a pretty solid character, pretty likable guy, to an amazing character, and we're gonna do that here, and that's why Zero's here. I hope that's not the case. I really hope that Zero is going to be fighting Gray or Natsu. Like I said, I'm really happy to have Zero back, and now I have Alderon back. I was like, man, I'm sad that I lost Alderon, but in exchange for Zero, it's actually kind of more beneficial to me. But now I have both. I have both guys. I have Destruction Incarnate Man, and I have Dragon Racism King, wants to eat all the people, dude. I'm living it for my niche character hobbies. If Wall comes back, I'm running it. Like, Mard Gears is actually pretty popular, so I can't count him as like a niche popularity character, but definitely some of these other guys. But I'm very intrigued on the whole bit about the Abyss of Magic. Sorry, I guess the Abyss of Black Magic now, because in what order did Ferris find everything in here? Like, what order did she start? Where did she go from, I would assume at some point, a regular woman or a regular girl, and then black magic journey, and then she said, "Oh, fuck it, I want to be the number one black wizard." Now that Jared, I almost said Jared. Yes, it's old Jared. Immediately I was thinking of, because I was thinking of names, and I was thinking of some of Jalal's old names. I was like gonna say I was thinking immediately like going over to Tower of Heaven, and I was thinking of like some of the translations where he was Gerard, and then I think I can't remember. I think it was one of the really bad fans translations at the time would called him like Jared or something. But everything right now, I'm very intrigued as to see where it kind of progresses for a lot of these fights, as well as more lore stuff, to see where everyone's kind of at. But I don't know. I'm going to be perfectly fine if we literally spend like and give each of these guys a solid chapter to 2 chapters for these fights, because I've said it before, we don't get content for the Oracion Seis that often. It's like, really, once you kind of steer past people like Laxus, Gajil, Jalal, Juvia, you start to get into the characters that relatively you have not the best chance of being within you know, within an arc, within the span of like 2 to 3 arcs. They're going to be way more so sitting and waiting, hanging out, doing their own thing. You know, well, at some point you'll see them. But either way, I thought the chapter was really good. It read pretty fast, but I think that's just because we had a lot of small bits that were kind of, you know, oh yeah, we're having little bits of character dialogue, characters giving reactions. You know, the 2 Alderon spreads were really nice, and then just short, you know, not a lot of dialogue because there was fights between Racer and Bird. So it was one of those chapters you read really quick. That's one of the reasons I was really happy that we had the whole bit about the Abyss of Black Magic, because with a chapter that you can read really fast, and then you obviously going back and rereading it, it has a lot of value because there's still stuff that you can catch, but just something that just does instant lore expansion like that makes the chapter extremely valuable in of itself, if you know, if you care about the world building and the lore of the series. But anyway, other than that though, like I said, it was a lot faster to read than relatively most chapters within a while, just because it was pretty interesting to where you could still have a solid conversation, but a lot of it was showing us some fights, setting up the fight, showing that the Oracion sects are more powerful than we were probably, I feel like some people are giving them credit for. And then, like I said, expansion on the Abyss of Black Magic. So really good stuff. Anyway, other than that, comment below, tell me your thoughts about this chapter, and tell me what fight exactly are you guys interested in seeing the most. But anyway, other than that, talk to you guys later. Bye.